Hello, and we're live with the very first ever show for Ammonize. I'm really pleased about this show. I've been so looking forward to this all week. As you can see, I have my guests with me. I have Donald Brant and I have the lovely Stephanie Sims, and we are going to be talking all about Donald's business today. So what I'm going to do is get Stephanie to introduce herself first, and then we'll get straight into meeting Donald and finding out exactly what we can do to Ammonize his business. Stephanie.
Thanks a lot, Ammon. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me on this first episode of Ammonize. I'm excited to be part of it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Sims, and I'm the founder of Financeability, which is a new way of looking at the value of your business, whether you're trying to get financing or you're looking to sell. So I'm here to talk about the money.
Donald.
It's good to have. Oh, go ahead.
Donald, introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Donald Brant. I come from Southern California. I was born and raised there. My parents are from Iowa. I'm now living in Denmark, and I have, some years ago, I've started a business that's called Treypunkt.com, and that basically stands for 3 points, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. That's kind of like a motto that I came up with some time ago. But yeah, it's I like to design and build furniture, and I like to design and build things that save energy or actually create energy, both sides. So, yeah. But I've been here. I've been living in Denmark since 2001, and yeah, I like it.
It's a great country. Do you find it helps you invent in any way? Does it give you a better frame of mind to be doing your business?
I do find that because I have worked for some of the companies that I have worked for, I have basically been given some of the nuts and bolts of the tools that I need to find out the processes that take for actually producing some of the products that I want to build. So it has been helpful in that way.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I see it, Treypunkt itself is your innovations company. It's the main thing that you're doing. You've got a couple of items at the moment of furniture, and they've both got a unique twist to them. And one of the products that's really stood out for me is, of course, your drying cabinet. However, one of the reasons it stood out is it's not ready for market quite yet. I don't know if anyone's had a look on the site. If you hadn't, it's worth grabbing it in a separate window. But the cabinet looks a little bit like flat pack furniture with a fan stuck in it.
Yeah.
But its price range puts it right next to my Hotpoint tumble dryer. And I would kind of expect to open up this cabinet and find a lot of machinery and circuitry and you know, the same kind of detection equipment going on in there, and of course it isn't. So I'm thinking, hang on, I've got a cabinet and a fan, but why is this so expensive? So can you tell us a bit about basically why the product has come in at that kind of price range at the moment, and then we can look at maybe ways of shaving that down?
Well, when I usually look for different types of materials when I go to build something, whether it be a new prototype or something that I want to put into production, I'm always looking for different vendors selling different materials, and then I can find out what the price breaks are when I'm buying in bulk and volume. So I have looked to places like Norway and Germany for a supply line. And basically what happened is I've gotten in contact with a couple of suppliers that have really given me their best price for what I've used up until this date now. So it's a matter of, yeah, of course, when the volume goes up, the prices can come down a little bit more. But at the startup, yeah, it's going to take some more. And like you said, it does resemble kind of a flat pack. And that was done on purpose so the unit can be flat packed, because there's not too many appliances like a refrigerator or washer or dryer that you could actually put in a thin little box and ship it. It's something you have to go down to Best Buy or one of the local, retailers, pick it up yourself, put it in the back of a trailer, and bring it home. This particular product can be shipped directly to your doorstep, and it can be, put together in literally minutes. And that's part of the design also, was to eliminate a lot of extra materials, because when things get recycled, as eventually all things do, or they should be, there's a lot of extra materials that go into some of those other machines that you were talking about. You've got fiberglass insulation, rubbers, plastics, different types of steel, copper, aluminum. So all of those components need to be separated. And that's basically what I wanted to do, is to eliminate as many of those actual materials as possible. But I do have different stylings that I will be able to offer in the future. And that all comes with a little bit of an advanced price, depending on the options, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of those things where these are all benefits to you, the business, the company. It makes distribution easier. It's a lot cheaper to just ship something that packs flat, because you can get more of it in the containers.
Yeah.
But to the customer, I wouldn't pay more for a washing machine I had to put together myself. I'd want to pay a lot less. So to an extent, these all need to be reflected in the price. I think with the way the product looks currently, you'd need to get the price down by at least 50%. And I don't think you've really got the margins, even with bulk, with your current suppliers, to get that far down, do you?
I could probably get it down. I would probably say I could knock maybe 20% off the overall price of it, and still feel like I'm, getting what it's worth. And also, you got to remember that this product is going to outlast most other products by a long shot, just because of the way it's designed. It's like I use the analogy of taking an old Model T or a Model A Ford. There's some of those, and the old Volkswagen Beetles. There's many of those that you still see on the road today, because they are so simple and because they're so easy to repair. And that's one of the things I wanted to do, is to eliminate all those components that can and will go wrong and break down. So basically what you're left with is that little fan motor. So if it does in fact go out or burn out, you could just replace it within 10 or 15 minutes, and you could be up and running again. So yeah, that was always in the back of my mind when I'm designing something.
Okay. 20% strikes me that it's not going to quite hit there. So the product, as it looks at the moment, as it is at the moment, wouldn't work on that level. So what we need to do then is to look at some possible alternative ways of doing it. Now, what you could do is go upmarket. This would justify that kind of price range, where it's costing the same as the washing machine, but you feel like you're getting much more for your money. And that would be things like maybe going to Bavaria for the wood, getting good Bavarian wood. Bavaria is famous the world over for its woodcraft. So if you got something that felt like it was a future antique, then people are more prepared to pay antique furniture prices, which brings it up into that kind of realm of the $600 mark, and maybe even a little bit more if the quality's right there. But when it feels like flat pack furniture, they're not going to pay $600, $700 for a cabinet with a fan in it.
Right.
And I think the other thing that struck me as you were talking is that the way you're describing it, these things that you're saying about being able to completely recycle it, about it not having things that are going to end up in landfills, that's a very specific market that you're appealing to. And so for it to work financially, you're going to have to create sort of this platinum or premium notion around the product to be able to sell it and make it profitable in a smaller market, right? If you've got fewer people buying, the price needs to be higher.
You've probably got a second product there. You've probably actually got the home build project that can be basically an ebook of everything they need to be able to get this cut for themselves out of any wood they want. They take these plans to any place that you know is a good timber merchant. They will cut it to order. Here's the assembly instructions. Here's what you recommend. You could make that work with, you know, a simple 12-volt transformer, and then they've got any choice of computer fans that they want to put in the case to do the fans. That works all over the world. Everywhere's got the same circuitry for that kind of stuff. The transformer is generating a tiny amount of heat, which will help with the drying, and of course the fans are standardized and they can get silent fans, so it would make it suitable for the bedroom. That as an ebook product, you know, $20 for all of the plans you need, everything you need to get this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think that could be a good
your own project. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But for buying the actual furniture, there's got to be enough margin in it, and the only way I can see that happening, as I say, you know, if I get 20% off the cost of a dryer, I'd just about be prepared to put a really advanced dryer together and end up with a dryer. I wouldn't want something that looked like a cabinet with a fan. I'd want something.
Well, you know what? There is a product on the market right now that when I came to Denmark, I did not realize that there was certain in Denmark it's called a toskab, and basically it's similar to mine, but my racking system is very unique because it's totally adjustable. It was designed for a specific purpose, and that was ease of use. So for, like I had mentioned, I had damaged some bras of my ex-wife's, and that really made her mad. But that was also one of the reasons that I designed it, to make it ease of use, so you could put like 8 or 10 bras right on one of the racks, and they don't have to be hanging from the curtain rod. And then it doesn't damage them because it's not tumbling them around and damage them, all of those. And then the other thing that I had to mention that because of the style, it could, and because the quiet use, I mean the quiet operation, the sound that's coming from it is very low. So you could in fact place it just anywhere you wanted to. And at the price point that the money that you're saving on electricity, if you consider a tumble dryer runs at 25 to 2800 watts per hour, and this one is running at like 18 watts per hour, the way it is now. And so that's a huge savings in electricity. And you're basically working with nature. Evaporation happens. So what you're doing is you're pulling air through the unit, through your clothes, and out of the house. So that's the simple principle. And back in the 50s or the 40s or 50s, whenever the first dryer was made, you know, gas was cheap, electricity is cheap. So they didn't consider that gas and electricity would ever be an issue. But it is now, you know, and it's one of those things. When I see appliances coming out now, especially in Denmark, when you see these different A and B and C ratings, you don't really realize how they come to those numbers, and also what those numbers actually mean in actual dollars and cents in your pocket. So, you know, if you want to spend the same amount for a tumble dryer and then have me cut the price of my cabinet in half, you know, you could do that, but then again, your savings would not be there. Okay. You know, you just couldn't save any money.
So, in marketing, it doesn't actually matter sometimes how good the product is. It's how good we can get the idea of the product across. Because people are only going to find out how good the product is after they've bought it, at which time you don't need marketing. They own it. If we go too far down the, here's how cheap it is, we're competing with a washing line. Which
that's right.
No electricity at all, so it's just better in every single thing you've just mentioned as a selling point. So we've got to be very careful that we still understand that the issue here is the convenience of drying all year round in a reasonable time frame. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I was a little concerned with the product is that it's a 14-watt motor, and you said it was a
14 to 18 watts. It just depends on which country you're in.
Well, we'd kind of need to standardise that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I was thinking a transformer, because then you're getting it down to 12 volts, whatever country they're in, and you know it's a standard 12-volt motor that they can get almost anywhere. You can arrange to have it, you know, different ones, different countries. But the idea is they need this to be drying in 10 hours. What's the current time on clothes straight from the washing machine to the dryer?
There is a little bit of a flex. Yeah, there is a little bit of. When you run your washing machine, does it run the spin cycle at 1600 RPMs? Your own personal washing machine? Can you tell me? Or is it 1400?
I couldn't tell you because we've recently changed. The last one was definitely a 1600 spin. I've got a feeling that the current one might even be faster.
Yeah. Well,
all I know is it's loud.
What I've read with all of the different you know, studies and things is that 1600 RPMs is like the optimum. So basically what you're doing is you're spinning as much of that moisture out of the clothes as possible, and that's a really good thing, because when you hang them up in a dryer or you put them in a tumble dryer, that's really what soaks the energy out of the dryer, because it just means that it's running that much longer. And getting back to your point on the cost of the unit, what you're not understanding is the fan itself that's built into my unit is designed for sensing moisture, so it will turn off by itself automatically. So there is another factor in the price of the unit, because I called the supplier in Spain to get the prices, you know, buying them in bulk, and he's very he's pretty happy to hear from me. But then again, he goes he's right now, until I start getting a lot more volume, there anything with the price. So
okay, so
there is a moisture sensor built into it, so that's another plus for it.
Well, I do understand that, but I'd be saying get rid of it on the fan, have a separate moisture sensor, because you know that way it's one smaller component if it does go wrong and need fixing.
Yeah.
It's also, like I say, separating it from the fan, which then becomes a commodity and gets you the better prices, and it makes the consumer able to get an identical unit in any country, rather than having a more complicated fan that's got the sensor and only runs on European so that your American customers are paying the price of a dryer and they don't even get the fan. You can't have that as a product. It's never going to work at all. There is no legs in that.
Yeah.
Just one question. Is the fan something that's your invention as well? Is it something that you've invented to put the sensor?
No, that's the box standard. It would be very similar to what you would find in any bathroom exhaust fan. Okay. When you flip the switch on in most bathrooms in a hotel, you hear the ceiling fan go on. Those are fans that they're very, you know, box standard, and they're very cheap, and they do make that humming sound. The ones that I purchased are a little bit more expensive because they do have bearings in them, and they're a lot quieter. You can barely hear them running, and that's basically where you're getting the difference in the price. And to address the American market compared to the European market, this guy down in Spain who supplies these particular fan motors, he supplies them to the United States and to Europe and Denmark and Germany. So
what do you think with not being able to supply the fans to the US? I believed it was the electronics.
No. What? The electronics? I'm sorry, what was that?
On your site at the moment, if you've got a customer from the US, it says they can't get the fan. They have to get their own.
Yeah, that was part of the website that I have to edit and basically fix it up, because it was this issue when I first spoke to the supplier. He said that there was not a possibility for them running all of those, you know, yeah. It was the difference between the 220 and the 110, and yeah. And since then, you can actually go down to your local Home Depot, and his products are on the shelves. Right. So that's another thing. That would be funny, because if you take it down and analyze it, you know, you talk about all these disruptive markets and disruptive types of products, and this is definitely one of them, because if you think about the old days, when you had some kind of problem with your tumble dryer, for example, you'd have to call the appliance repair man. He would either have to come out to your house, or you'd have to take the machine to him. With this one, it would be really a very simple repair because you could actually go down to your local Home Depot, buy the replacement part, and put it in. And if it comes to something with the racking system, if they call me on like a 24-hour hotline, I could just drop ship them another rack. So there's like really simple ways to solve those kind of maintenance and upkeep issues.
Yeah. Or they could even buy your ebook and get the print plans for it and take it down to their local timber merchant and get the racking done that way.
Yeah. Or they could do it in their own garage, yeah. I mean, if someone has plans and then they realize that, wow, I can make these at home, that would be great. I mean, for a weekend warrior project guy, you know, that would probably be a lot of fun.
Right.
Okay. So one of the things is to go up market, because you're not going to get 600 for something that looks like it comes from IKEA. It's not going to happen. It's got to be way up market. You need to make the whole thing look a little bit more technical, a little bit more, oh, this is something special. So you'd want to have good quality woods to get that market up. You'd probably want some kind of seal around the door, and to get that while still having that, oh, this is a future heirloom piece of furniture feel, I'd probably say something like vinyl. So a leather look vinyl is completely airproof. If you've just got a loop of that by the door seals and around, it's going to help seal it so that the airflow is going through where you want it to go, i.e. coming in the input and out the exit, not around the doors.
Right.
But again, it's giving that look and feel of quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to go. The other way to go is to go mass market, instead of, you know, making these bespoke pieces that you're going to sell a few units of, moving to something that you can sell a lot of. Basically, you know, beating IKEA to the punch. Before they rip your idea off, you say, right, what would I need to do to make this
into Home Depot?
Mass produce? And you'd be looking to outsource all of your production, buy in bulk right from the start, have everything basically a nice smooth system end to end. And that is particularly why I wanted Stephanie on this show, is because obviously to get there you would need to get investment.
Mm-hmm.
What you'd be really wanting to do to get there, and the reason I bring this up as a possibility is because in your position, Donald, I would feel if in 1 year's time some big flat pack manufacturer was selling all of these drying units, and they're doing them at $300, $400, a price I can't compete on,
mm-hmm.
and they're selling thousands of the things, and I'm struggling to sell 1 or 2 pieces a month, I would feel sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I want to do is get you there before IKEA get there. Now, several things you'd need to do to make this attractive and to protect yourself. The first is that you'd need to get a couple of patents. Now, your racking system, in our initial discussion we mentioned this, but your racking system is unique enough that you could patent that. Yeah. The second thing would be to devise a particular kind of airflow for your casing. Doesn't matter whether it's actually any more effective or not. The Dyson vacuum cleaner is very famous because it's got dual cyclone technology.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of our audience would actually know what the heck a dual cyclone is, or why it's different to any other vacuum cleaner's cyclone technology.
And if it's really important. Yeah.
The whole thing, it's made that brand. Another example of this is, you know, well, have a real look at something everyone will know. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Mm-hmm. Their recipe, their secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices, blah, blah, blah. It isn't actually patented because you can't really prove that nobody's ever used that before.
Right.
The chances that nobody's put all these herbs and spices together in this format before is 0. So, you know, it wasn't even worth going for a patent. But what you do is instead have a secret recipe. And the secret's black pepper. There you go. It's that simple. It doesn't matter. What matters is he's now got something he can say is unique, that's special, and it sticks in people's minds. That's the one that's got the secret. Therefore, all of the others are pale copies. So it doesn't matter really what airflow you created that you could patent, as long as it was different enough that you could patent, and then you brand the heck out of the fact that yours is the only one with this patented airflow.
Well, on that note, there is something that I've been working on to do. Well, actually, I've actually built a couple of prototypes of it, and that is to change from summer to winter, because obviously, if you're in a colder climate, you're going to want to be able to pull in the air from outside. So I have devised a system for that. So that's something that I've never seen any other unit do, whether it be a tumble dryer or a cabinet dryer. There's just nothing on the market like that. So that is something that's very unique. And
I think if we were going for a mass market product, there's several things that you'd want to change. One is the patents. That's to get things up front, because there's no chance of getting a good investor without those kind of things in there, because they need to see that they're not going to get some competitor coming up tomorrow who's already an established player who has all of their IKEA. You know, if IKEA decide to do this tomorrow, they can beat you to market on this.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already got the brand, they've already got the outlets. An investor needs to know he's not sunk before he starts. Patents are a help towards that. They also show that you're serious, that you've done your homework, which again makes you more investable in. So those parts. Before I go right into that, what you're buying, why you would want investment is because, yeah, you need to be able to buy in bulk right from the start to say, right, this is what I'm doing. I need to get my patents in, I need to get these things in, and I need to buy in bulk so that I can get the prices down so that this can be
more competitively priced, yeah.
Much more competitively priced, yeah. It's something that everyone can afford, and in combination with what they're going to save, see as a real alternative to a dryer. Now, for some of those people in the audience who maybe haven't really seen the opportunities of this product, the reason this dryer is actually rather exciting is, yeah, it's a great idea. Most of us can't leave a dryer on overnight because, you know, we do worry about this thing being on all night. You know, you're not supposed to leave electric appliances on, especially ones that run on heat and have a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But still, there are a lot of us who, let's face it, we don't have a choice. We need these things dry. They're not going to dry quite fast enough that it's instant, so we leave them on when we go to work. We leave the dryer on when we go shopping. And a lot of people actually aren't there while their things are drying. So a 10-hour drying time, no longer, but a 10-hour drying time isn't unreasonable. That can actually work for people, because it is a thing that you can have running overnight. You do your washing, you put the thing in the dryer, and in the morning, all those clothes are lovely, fresh, dry. Nobody has a problem with that. And it's hardly cost me any electricity. No loud noise that's drowning out my television in the next room. You know, these are all strong advantages. So it actually does have a thing to put me off the fact that, okay, yeah, but everyone else has a dryer and a dryer's faster and I trust the machinery of a dryer. This thing, isn't it just a cupboard with a fan? Those are objections that are in a customer's mind. But once they can see those benefits and the price is lower and they're going to save electricity, you've got 3 dimensions that you're hitting them on. And when you can beat a product in 3 dimensions, you win. It takes 2 just to get to consider it. If you can beat an existing product in 1 dimension, you've got nothing, because they've already got experience with that. Your better product is only matched by the fact I'm safe with that. I know what I'm doing with that. There's a risk in going with something new, even if we think it's better. But if we beat it in 2 dimensions, that's 2 things to counter the familiarity, and we start to win. 3, you're really there. Stephanie, can you explain to Donald some of the aspects he'd need to get straight in order to get the level of financing it would need to start this business up?
Sure, and it's very funny that you're talking about risk, Ammon, because that was one of the things that, you know, when we talk to investors, one of the most important things we need to understand is investors look at risk and reward. Okay, and they're always looking for the right balance for them. Okay, so that's why I said earlier, you'll find someone, even though they're, you know, you see a lot of venture capitalists who are only looking at software, that's their particular risk-reward profile. But there are plenty of people who don't have that. They would prefer taking on risks of a manufacturing business like we're talking about here. So everybody has their own flavor or their own taste, if you will. But you need to address it to that particular concern. You're going to need to show them what the rewards are. Okay? So you're going to need to be very clear about what your potential market is, how much money they can make, and what's going to happen at the end. What's their exit strategy? So first thing we're going to have to do is talk about, let's say that we're able to get the supply chain in line, we get the funding, we're able to mass produce this product and bring it down with the marketing plan that Ammon's talking about. How many units of this thing could we really sell every year? And we need to look at that and say over the next, say, 3 to 4 years, where are we going to find ourselves and how much revenue are we going to generate? Okay, that's the reward piece. Then we're going to have to show them, okay, here are the risks we perceive, one of which Ammon's already addressed with the competition. Another big risk, as you mentioned, Donald, with the supply chain is making sure that we get the right prices and that we get the consistent quality out of people that we've subcontracted to. There are ways to do that, but it's going to take time and money. We need to show investors that we've considered those issues and that we know how to address them, or that we know how to control the risk. Okay? And then the other element of risk that I see, which you address very well, Ammon, is the notion that you want to give the investor something to hold on to about this product that nobody else has. They need to see something unique. And if that comes in the form of a patent, or that comes in the form of a secret recipe, or whatever form it comes in, it needs to be there, because otherwise they're going to feel like they're exposed to IKEA or Home Depot or whoever it is, who clearly have a bigger marketing budget than you do and clearly have a lot more connections instead of starting from scratch. So we're going to have to get them comfortable with the notion of here's how we're protecting the uniqueness of this product, and here's how it's going to connect with our target audience at the end. That's why it's easy for them to see the value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next step once we've done those two pieces kind of conceptually is to put numbers to them and really understand how many dollars we're going to generate, or I forget what the currency is in Denmark, but however many krona, I guess it is, that we're going to generate, and how much it's going to cost us to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would be looking for a reasonably sizable investment to get this going quickly to where it wants to be. A few $100,000 I think is quite reasonable for what we're looking at, because you are going to have to source the product. The design, you've already got most of that down. You'd probably want to highlight a few parts and improve a few parts. It might be worth, paying for some studies, investing a few tens of thousands here and there to get all of your ducks in a line about the safety of the product, about that airflow. Pay for a scientific study on why the airflow that you do patent is so great. And remember, the whole great thing about statistics is you can prove anything with statistics. As long as you've got something you want to prove, you'll always be able to find the statistics to prove it. So a study that shows that your product puts less wear and tear on clothes, yeah, because it's not getting them dry as quick. It doesn't matter, it is, but there's a positive side to everything. So a study that shows that, it just adds that one extra little quality, which is going to help in getting your share, because your potential market is a mixture of those who already own dryers, and what you'd be looking at there is trying to get the figures on how many dryers are sold in a given year. You're not going to get all of that market straight away. I would think in your first year of business you'd be probably lucky to get 2% of that market. However, it is possible, and I would think that in year 2 you'd be starting to push towards 5%, and that after that it starts to get complicated after that. So that's kind of where I'd be looking at benchmarking this business, is around about the 5% market share of all dryers.
So you're talking about,
you get competitors coming in.
So you're talking about a lot of the early adopters that are just basically seeing it, and they're seeing it for its value. They're seeing that, hey, the sun's not beating down on my clothes and fading them. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to it that are positive. and then the end result is, yeah, the materials that are used is also really
yeah, we're giving them a very realistic mid-ground between the dryer that's reliable and works all year round and doesn't create any problems with humidity. You know, there's no worries about that. I know what that does. Yeah, it's expensive to run, it's expensive to buy. Those are its downsides, but everything else, you know, it's positive, fast, okay, apart from the noise. And the thing that we actually, you know, the green people tend to actually like drying their clothes outside. Oh, that it's got the fresh air. It's you know, the natural way of doing it. You know,
I grew up.
We've got a halfway product. You know, it's a compromise between those two. Because let's face it, in this day and age, most of us are trying to compromise between those two things. We like industrialized convenience, and we really respect nature, sustainability, but we have to kind of compromise between the two, and that positions you absolutely perfect. So you can literally call this a product for the modern age. Absolutely.
One other point that I wanted to mention too, while we're on the mention or on the topic of benefits, I have since converted almost 99% or 95% of my clothing is now hangerized. I mean, I put everything on a hanger because that's another convenience. I can put everything on a hanger and put it in the cabinet, and I don't have to worry about wrinkles or anything. There are inherently certain wrinkles that you get with certain materials, and you just can't avoid that with some materials. But when you put them in there and then they're dry, you're basically taking them out by the hanger, and then you're putting them into your other clothing rack or hanger or closet or wherever you're going to put them. So that's another benefit of the time saver, because once they're on the hanger, they're on the hanger. If you take something out of the tumble dryer, you either have to fold it or hang it up. So you're not going to sidestep that little time, you know, that issue of time used on doing your laundry. So yeah, it's hard to avoid that one.
Again, that pet panel that are going to create the studies for you will be able to point out that by hanging things up on a hanger while they're still damp, it pulls them straighter, so they get less wrinkles. They need a lot less ironing and care. In fact, most things won't need ironing at all because they went up damp. That dampness, the extra weight, held them straight, and because they dried without a rough wind being out on a line, flapping about, it actually kept them much, much neater. So yeah, it is. It's going to save you a lot of time in ironing, which again is even more electricity saved.
Yep.
So those are all advantages, but that's towards the mass market.
Yeah.
I think one thing that would really help there as well is still creating a couple of those top-end products, you know, the ones that are made in fine quality oak by craftsmen in Bavaria, and yeah, they're going to cost, you know, $900 or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you can sell a couple of those units, you've given a proof of concept.
Right.
It's fine to have investors go, well, your numbers look good, but I don't believe in the product. If you can show, well, look, here's a couple I've sold suboptimally. You know, this is before I've got an optimized supply chain. Just going the quality route, I got these units sold. That really is good, isn't it, Stephanie?
Yeah, and the second thing, and it's funny because that was one of the things that I wanted to come back to, is you're going to have one of the risks that they perceive, obviously, investors, is this notion it's not going to sell. Nobody wants it. But I think with this ebook idea that you mentioned earlier, Ammon, you could really kind of have a double threat there, which is I've shown you it works in the high end, and I've shown you it works with the DIYers. Okay, those are both the outliers. Everybody else is in the middle. So, you know, we come at it from either end, if you will. We come at it from, you want to be like the high flyers, but you can't afford a $900 dryer. Here's how you get it. Or you want to do it yourself, and you want it to not cost a lot. Here's how you do it, right? And you hit them in the middle of those 2 points. But as we were talking, I did have one question, since we were talking about this notion of the ability of the product to be maintained very easily and very inexpensively. Ultimately, that means that you're going to have to capture a bigger percentage of the total market, because the way the market works now is most people keep a dryer for somewhere between 6 to 8 years, and they have to replace it. Well, if what you're doing is 3. Oh, okay.
That's one of the reasons I designed this cabinet. My dryer was 3 years old. It was a very high-end, expensive dryer, and it stopped working after 3 years.
But is that the industry average? I think the industry average is actually 5.5 years.
4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's another risk that you're going to have to address, is this notion of, yes, it's a great selling advantage, but at a certain point you can't sell to those same 5% anymore because they're not going to buy it again. You have to keep eating away at the percentage, and at what point does it become unreasonable to say, yes, 50% of the people in the world are going to use this product to dry their clothes. I don't know if it's 50% or 20% or 80%, but someone's going to ask that question, and we need to have a good answer for it, or we need to be offering accessory products, or we need to be offering a maintenance plan, or we need to be offering some way to generate revenue off of these clients once they've purchased the product that we're telling them never has to be replaced.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I thought of with this as a mass market product is to make it very simple to clip on basically veneer fronts. So that if you change the decor of your room, you change the decor of the product. Right. Everything. And that way you're selling new doors every now and again. And let's face it, they do get scratched. Most of us, you know, anyone who's got children knows that furniture doesn't tend to last that long. So, yeah, well, if people can buy a new front, a new veneer, you've got an ongoing product line there as well.
Well, you know, there's another factor in the resale or the extended sales or the add-ons. Well, there was one question. A friend of mine, he says, well, if it's a decent price, if you get the price down a bit lower, what would keep somebody from buying multiple units and having them in different rooms around the house? Because since it's so quiet, it's not like you have to really consider the sound. So that was another issue. He said people could easily want to buy multiple units. And
as a mom of 3, that could be very nice to say to my kids, you know what? My job is to wash. Here's your clothes. You put them in your cabinet. You take care of them. Yep. Right? Yeah. That would change completely the dynamic of the way laundry gets done by saying, you've got your own dryer. Deal with it. You know, the washing is a different issue, but it could certainly become a much more attractive solution if the price point is right.
Yeah. 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 And I think,
like I said earlier,
you had on your video, Donald, was that you dried some herbs in it.
Yeah.
This is something that the investors could be interested in. Is you've got a separate product there actually. You've got a unit that can sit in a kitchen and dry herbs.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you've built, and this is where Ammon is helping you already, but is gonna help you more, I'm sure. If you've built a nice quality reputation for this product, it's a brand that people know and trust. Then when you say to them, you know, guess what? I've got another solution for you. They're gonna jump right on it.
Yeah.
Me, at least, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, for that mass market product, you would really want 2 options, major variants. In addition to different color fascias and things like that, you'd really want 2 major differences. And the major differences are, one would have a dehumidifier built in, the other one wouldn't. Now, the dehumidifier is actually quite amusing because now you've added a new twist to your product. Instead of just drying what's in the inside, you've now got a dryer that dries what's in the inside but can also dry a damp room. The ultimate dryer. It not only dries what's inside, it dries what's outside as well. And that gets you for your colder, moister climates, or for houses that have a slight damp problem. Yeah. You've got this wonderful machine, low noise, that's addressing not only its own problem, but more than that.
Yeah.
A lot of people would just go for the standard unit, but you've got that extra one with that interesting little twist on it. It's an easy way of fixing that problem for everybody.
Yeah, the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, but it's kind of, you've got people is this going to increase damp in my house? Is one of the things that people might worry. Well, you can reassure them and say, but for people who already have damp in their house, this is the unit for them. Yeah. And what people do in that situation is they start to rationalise, no, actually I don't have damp, so I only need this one. Yeah. They've just completely forgot they were worried about it causing damp, unjustly. Provided a solution to that, but it costs more. They go straight back to the other. No, I don't need that, because they've been able to sort out. No, I don't have a damp problem. I'm worried about nothing. I'm creating excuses to make this decision simpler for myself. It's a new product. I don't know it, So if I can throw an objection at myself and not have to think about it, I can just go about my normal business and save energy in my head. That's how customers sometimes are. It's why it can be very difficult to move an incumbent solution out with something new. It's because a lot of us, the last thing in the world we want to do is think, but we pretend we think. It's the way our brains are wired. We sort of do these shortcuts. So yeah, people who say, oh, is it going to create damp? Now that there's a solution, oh, well, even if it did, there's this. No, oh, well, it's not going to create damp. Because now it's costing them money. It goes back. So you'll actually, it just works on more than one level. Trust me on that one.
Yeah.
So that's that one particular product. To capitalize that way, you know, don't get us wrong. There are risks of failure. There are risks it's not going to work, and there are ways that you manage these risks. The first thing is that, of course, what you'd want to do is set this up a separate company for this product, so that that company can fail, and its losses are limited to that. It's not TradePunk that's losing money. It would be that company. So that makes it nice and clean for you and for the investors. They know exactly what they're investing in. They might still want to invest higher up the chain. Sometimes investors see a lot of potential in you, and they want to have something that is a bit more attached to you. But that's not necessarily a problem, because still you'd be able to put the investment into this separate business and cut your losses if anything did go wrong. If this didn't take off, or if IKEA, it turns out tomorrow, have already been working on a design for this for months.
Or they could be copying me already.
For all we know, yeah. And there's always the chance that people will see this and go, this is one reason we need to push this product up in how it looks. It mustn't look like something where I can just go to my local flat pack furniture seller and drill my own holes. It mustn't look like that, or that's what I'm going to do and save myself $300.
Right.
So we have to introduce these extra elements. I mean, even in the standard unit, I'd be tempted to put in a silica gel package or a salt package somewhere that basically just said it was damp neutral. It was, you know, absorbing some moisture on its own and wasn't creating any. Even if it almost doesn't work, because the airflow anyway it's not a huge problem. Not with the speed of the drying. You know, over 10 hours, the amount of moisture isn't that high.
No, it's the problem is when you actually let that moisture enter the house, because I have seen other inventors, they've tried to come up with ways of utilizing the heat that comes off of a tumble dryer and recirculate that into the house and eliminating the moisture at the same time. And that's a pretty tough, that's a real scientific conundrum, because evaporation happens, and if you're not pumping that outside, then it's going to stay inside, and that's when it's going to cause problems. So that alone, all tumble dryers at this point in time, I don't know of any other that are not set up this way, but they're always drawing from in the room and they're pushing it outside, always. Except for, and this is the only exception, is those tumble dryers that are designed as condensed tumblers, condensed tumble dryers. But the problem with those things is their energy rating is way higher than a standard electric or gas dryer, because they have to add that extra process to suck that moisture out. But then you have to take a cartridge out and dump it with the fluid that's in there, or you can run a pipe to an existing drain. And you'll see that in Europe a lot. You'll see condensed dryers, because people will use them in rooms that have no venting, like they're in basements, for example.
Yeah.
And
there's really not too many options for them to add a vent.
And actually, that's precisely where your product is better. It is actually easy to prove this. The problem, you see, is that people are driving all of that moisture out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So the air they're putting out is very dense in moisture, because all of that moisture is coming out in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas because yours is working over 10 hours, it's not getting that. The average person is breathing out more moisture into their air than your product will.
Yeah.
With a full washing load, people breathe more moisture into the air than your product creates.
Yeah.
So, do you see what I mean? This is actually a better product for anybody who's got damp problems, and it's all how you demonstrate it and show the science. So those aren't the issues. Now, we're down to about 10 minutes, and I want to make sure you get the absolute most value out of this hour that you can, Donald. We've had some fantastic comments. You've got a lot of support in the audience, and I guarantee you, anything you need help with, there's going to be people who are stepping up to let you know what they can do to help. Unfortunately, comment track seems to be giving them some problems, so I'm sorry about that, everybody. Now, with this idea of doing an ebook, I would say go with that anyway, because this will generate attention and traction. You'd probably want to create a community around this that's based on, you know, there's a sustainable movement, you know, that there's a lot of people who are green conscious today. Create a small rallying point where you can identify and give a platform to other people who are playing with creative ideas of ways to get past it. Because if you've got other potential inventors playing in your playground, you'll have first choice at saying, you know, that's really good. Would you like me to help you develop this product? And in they come to TradePunkt. Okay, you're developing the inventors of tomorrow to help you produce even more products that fit your ethos of the 3 points.
It's funny you said that, because that's similar to what Dyson's doing, from what I understand. He's also putting a lot of investment towards helping young inventors and entrepreneurs get their projects off the ground. And his system seems pretty good. Yeah.
Well, look at Google and its encouraging of coders, and particularly women coders. It's enriching the pool that they are going to have to recruit from for the next 30 years. So a lot of businesses do this, and it's certainly something that you should be doing. A, it's getting the right kind of people involved. B, it's getting those inventors where you can find them, get to know them, and that way, if they do come up with a product that's good, you're the guy they already know, like, and trust in that field. So you've got a very high chance of knowing who you want to work with and being able to make a really good pitch to them. So for the future of your company, wherever it goes, that's always going to be an advantage. Now, the second thing is distributing those ebooks. Yeah, I would definitely do this as a complete build product. You're going to want to make this ebook effective. The plans, you're going to want a download area for, you know, the files so that they can take this to an auto cutter or it's machine cut.
Code. Yeah, for the CNC machines, they have they run on G code. So yeah, that's not a problem. Exactly. I already have all of that.
It could even be that you'd want the plans so that people could 3D print their own handles or hinges or anything like that.
Or a mini one that they can put on their keychain.
That'd be cool.
Just in case you change it. Don't you hate it when one of your banknotes gets damp? Now we have the solution.
Yeah. You don't have to stick it in the oven anymore.
Okay, so those things are giving you mass market. They're going to lift your appeal across the board because they're things that people will comment on, get interested in, and be able to share, which all helps uplift your brand generally, regardless of where you go with this specific product.
Mm-hmm.
With the product, I would strongly lean towards going with the mass market, but partly that's because, as I say, it would be terrible for me in your position to see IKEA come out with this in 6 months' time, watch them selling all these units, and be sat there, it was my idea. They're only copying me. You know, I'd hate to be in that position.
But I still have a position where I can still market mine, regardless of what any other manufacturer does, because there is a company here in Denmark that's selling a cabinet that's it's a big monster. It's made out of steel. It's got fiberglass insulation. It's got plastic, but it sells for 8,000 Danish crowns.
Yeah. As
opposed to my 3,500 Danish crowns. And so, and it uses the same amount of electricity. So there's
steel one doesn't come flat pack, does it?
No. It's
how much people are prepared to pay if it's not flat pack?
It's used in places where they have like commercial, like hospitals, I guess, from what I understand from a friend of mine. The hospitals are very readily using them because it's so convenient for drying sheets in, you know, like bed sheets.
And that's it. You know, they've got that industrial end covered, which could take away a little bit of your market. However, if your brand can get there on the home market, you will be able to go with the industrial route as well. So
yeah, I can build larger.
Meantime, until you've got your own decision made on exactly which way you're going with this, don't mention that other company too much at all.
Yeah.
You don't want them just to annoy you, saying, "Oh, well, you've actually just copied our product," and making you have to fight it out. They've got the money to do fighting that you haven't.
Yeah.
So if they become aware that you're thinking of moving into the market, they might do that just to slow you down while they move there first.
Yeah.
So try to draw as little conclusion as possible so they're not seeing lots of traffic coming from things you're involved in, your site, things like that, because they've heard a mention of it. Yeah, disassociate completely with it.
Yeah.
It is a different market. It's a whole different thing they're going for at the moment. Let's focus on the home market and then move into the industrial. But yeah, there is a lot of money in the industrial market. You know, anywhere where they've got a lot of uniforms or a lot of bedding, you know, hotels, hospitals, anything like that, spas, you know, where they've got to dry all those towels.
Yeah.
I met a guy who's a cross country runner the other day, and he mentioned that he had seen my website, and he said, you know, that's pretty awesome because I wash my clothes for my running clothes and stuff literally every day. So he said he needs a better solution for drying his clothes because he can, you know, drip dry them or hang them up, but he goes it takes a long time because, you know, and plus he's hanging them sometimes on the shower curtain rod, stuff like that. So, and because it's a synthetic material.
That is the wonderful thing about your product, is anything that says drip dry only is still safe for your dryer.
Right.
Yep. And it won't damage the ladies' bras and stuff, and the fine washables. They won't get damaged.
But that's why I think that upmarket version could work, even at $1,000 a unit, because there are people who have real raw silk in their wardrobe that they love to wear.
Yeah.
They've got fine linens. You can't tumble dry any of those things. And, you know, the ability to be able to just quickly deal with that themselves, yeah, great. And it's not so much because of the washing, drying. Let's face it, most of these people are going to have a laundry service that does that. They're going to send it out to dry cleaners. But the idea where, you know, they get soaked in a day and they can just put the thing up in the dryer, you know, that's what's going to appeal. I think there is a market there to get a few units. Not going to be a huge amount, but there's a high markup on each unit, and it will prove the point. And it could be that you decide, you know, I don't want to take the risks on this. I don't want to, you know, run a big company that could go bad. I'd try and get past that if I were you. I would try and go for the mass market thing as well, because it's not very often you come across products and ideas that have that opportunity to be mass market. And you've got one. This could be a device that is in everybody's home. In 5 to 10 years' time, everybody might have one of these. So the very fact you've got that, I think you've almost got to say, do you know what? Go for it. Let's do this. Let's do it smart. But all the risks are really on other people. The risk is it doesn't work. It's the investors' money that's gone, but they know this. They take smart investments, knowing that no matter how smart you make them, you invest in 10 companies, 8 of them vanish without a trace, 1 of them breaks even, and all of your profit is in that other one. That's roughly how a basket of investment works. Even for professional venture capitalists, however carefully they examine the businesses they invest in, 8 out of 10 are going to fail.
Wow.
So don't be afraid of failure. The whole point is, if you're going to fail, fail spectacularly and fail safe. So by setting up that it's the company that is limited, no debts go beyond that. So you're setting this thing up as a gamble in the first place, knowing it might fail, knowing it might win. Whichever it does, you win from it, because one way you gain experience and the other way you gain fame and riches. There's no loss. Right. As long as you take pride out of the equation and don't tie yourself to, oh, my venture failed, that means I'm a failure. No. None of that at all. You're trying, and that always makes you a winner. The only way to fail, actually fail in anything in life, is to quit, and especially before you start. So my advice would be to really start developing for a mass market product with this, because it has that opportunity. You've still got other things you can be doing with TradePunk. I would keep going with TradePunk and create other products as well, but I would separate this off, because that looks like a really good lottery ticket to me, Donald.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
So, we're at the top of the hour. I want to thank you so much for letting us all look at your business and talk about some of the challenges you face. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience who've so patiently sat through today?
Yeah, just one thing that, like I had said before, there was some comments and stuff that were, yeah, basically I had another professional look at the website. They basically gave me their critiques, and they basically said, hey, it's a good idea if you just close it down and we'll rebuild it from scratch. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And if you look at the website now, it's just it's a real mess, because it's just basically been stripped of all of its guts. So we're going to be going through it and investing a little bit of time to rebuild it from scratch.
I'd say go a little bit slow on this product. Definitely do this for TradePunk anyway, because that's what you want to do. It surprised me when I went to your website that it's called 3-point and I couldn't see a triangle logo anywhere.
Yeah. Well, because
there's about ways to underline the point. There should be a triangle there somewhere. You've got a 3 points.
That basically it's 3 points, not a trekant. In Danish, if you say trekant, that means a triangle. But trekant means you can't, and I can. So there was where I wanted to disassociate myself with a triangle.
Right.
And the trekant, I can. So yeah, that was just one of those plays on words. And since I've been in Denmark, there's a lot of those little words where you think about it and you go, well, where did that word actually come from? And even the word broadcast, if you translate that into Danish, broad means wide and cast means to throw. So you're throwing a broad signal. That's where the word broadcast came from, and I never realized that until I came to Denmark. So
one thing could be to put an arrowhead on the logo, because again, it's got 3 points, but it can point somewhere, and it's just a nice little logo that kind of underlines what your name is and provides something.
Yeah.
But that aside, definitely work on the TradePunk side anyway. It needs brushing up. You need to think of what is TradePunk, really get your identity there sorted. But I would certainly say build this as a separate product. It has amazing potential. I can't guarantee it will get there, but it's got it. And I think you'd regret if you didn't chase this one.
Yeah.
Life's too short for those kind of regrets.
I feel like
thank you so much, Stephanie. Anything you'd like to say before we finish? Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, well, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for listening, for taking our for listening to our advice, Donald, and for sharing everything you did about your business. I know sometimes it's hard. It feels like it's your baby, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to show it to anybody. They might not like it. So I really applaud you already for taking this step, and thank you for being here with us today. I look forward to hearing what happens, and of course, if there's anything I can do to help you, you just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks very much, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you on the next show.